here's my take on this. On the list that we're stealing this from, and for those who don't know where we kind of got the idea from, it came from that metal show, which is on VH1 Classic, and Chris Jericho did not insult us, but I'm pretty sure in the backstage clips that they are called Scrap Metal on the last episode of the season, he's going to be saying something about the Cousin Brucey of wrestling. I think he might say that on there, but we'll see. We'll see. But anyway, they, on their lists, always put somebody who passed away before their prime, and sometimes I don't think it's deserved, but I do think that I'm going to argue against myself here and say I think Owen deserves to be on the list because I think that you can't tell, number one, where he would have gone had he not passed, and number two, like you said, I think in '94, and they actually did at a house show, if anybody remembers this, they released it on a Coliseum video, where in a lumberjack match, he pinned Bret Hart in a world title match. And
wow.
They announced it. Your winner and new world heavyweight champion, Owen Hart. And it was actually somebody, one of the lumberjacks, who got in there and said, no, he was hit by one of the lumberjacks, and that's how Owen beat him. And they restarted the match.
Oh, I never saw this.
So, yeah, I mean, that I think is really, I think I can go with Owen. I can live with Owen being the final one on our list.
Further in the discussion, though, I think by the time Owen passed away, which was very sad, I think he was getting towards the end of his career because I think he was starting to wind down, which is probably why he took the Blue Blazer character.
Right, well, I think he was ready to give it up anyway. I mean, I think that there's people that you can see the fire starting to go out in, and I think you saw it with Owen. I think at the end of Edge's career, right, just recently, you could see it with him as well. So I think you're right about that.
Well, you have to kind of understand where the source is coming from, but according to Martha Hart, she wrote a book about Owen's life. She kind of always took the point of Owen didn't want to wrestle, but he was kind of forced into it by the family, and by the end, he really just wanted to get out and be a dad and a husband. He was looking. She actually says he was about 2 years from retiring when Over the Edge happened.
Mm-hmm. I believe that. I can believe that. I think he wanted to be a phys ed teacher.
Well, even like
if you think about it, you can almost see that.
I mean,
I see him fucking around with the kids.
Oh yeah, I mean, I had a
rope and it's got like grease on it.
yeah, I could see him doing that, sure.
Yeah, I always do wonder what it was like for like George the Animal Steele's students if they ever found out what he did during the summer, or if like they had a kid who moved there from New York and like walked in one day and there was George the Animal Steele teaching their class.
Well, Bill Eadie, Demolition Axe, is the same thing right now. And you know what? If I looked up my teacher's name and I saw him in S&M gear walking to the ring in a mask, I'd be pretty freaked out, man.
Well, the late Larry Sweeney, who worked a lot on the independent circuit, apparently there's a story going around. He was a substitute teacher in Philadelphia, and a kid recognized him. He was there for like a week, and he was like, no, I'm not a wrestler. No, I'm not a wrestler. The last day he was there, like as the kid was leaving, he finally like gave him like a kind of like admitted to him and did the whole gimmick for the kid.
Oh, okay.
Aw.
That's cool. Well, let's get these guys in order here. Here's how we have it right now. Here's how I kind of numbered it. I have it Arn Anderson is 5, Owen Hart is 4, Ted DiBiase is 3, Jake Roberts is 2, and Roddy Piper is 1. We okay with that, or we want to change it up?
I think Ted DiBiase has to be either number 1 or number 2. I think if you honestly ask me if the way I rank who the better wrestler is and why I have a lot of respect for Jake Roberts, I think Ted DiBiase is ahead of him just barely in a couple of key areas, but also the big one would be Ted didn't have the same demons and wasn't the kind of guy that would fall asleep backstage. So I think Ted has to be the number 1 or number 2. And I mean, as Patrick said, the $1 Million Man gimmick has been ripped off, redone how many times since Ted DiBiase did it?
And they tried to do it with his own son, really, to some degree.
Oh,
Poor kid.
Yeah. Well, if you listen to everybody else in the whole wrestling internet, now that he's on SmackDown, which is a wrestling-oriented show, he'll be just fine.
Well, he's a good worker, Ted Jr. I'll call him Jr., even though Vince won't let anybody be called Jr. because he doesn't want to be called Jr. himself. But yeah, I'll call him Ted Jr. I mean, I think he's a hell of a worker. He struggles with personality, And I don't think that would be as blaringly obvious if he wasn't the son of one of the strongest personalities we ever had. It's like, dude, the apple fell real far from that tree.
Well, hold on. How long has Ted Jr. actually been wrestling?
He's been around a while. I think he started in 06, 05, 06.
Well, I will say this. The way the WWE does promos, I think sometimes it does stunt the growth because they write everything out, and you're not allowed to put your own voice into things. So I do wonder if he can...
And it shows.
Yeah, I think that definitely shows. I mean, with guys that aren't comfortable reading lines, you can tell pretty glaringly. I would be interested to see what would happen if they would let him kind of like voice it in his own way and speak in a way that, you know, that he is comfortable in doing this, instead of saying, hey, here's your script. Here's exactly what you're supposed to say. Don't vary from it at all. And make sure you don't block.
And here's the thing. If you're going to make somebody do that, if you're going to make all the wrestlers do that, memorize everything word for word and recite everything word for word, okay, get them a goddamn acting coach. Or get them, okay, when you put them through FCW, get them or pay for acting classes or something. Give them the material and the tools and the resources to actually perform in this method correctly. But they don't even do that. So they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot.
And the result is, you know, one of the worst promo guys, I think, out there. And it's not his fault, because if you actually listen to him talk, he clearly has the ability. And no, I'm not talking about John Morrison, because we said the same thing about him, is Dolph Ziggler. I think Ziggler struggles with that as well. And it's a damn shame, because when he calls commentary, he's much more comfortable. He's not as scripted. And he's got a lot more to say than when he cuts these boring promos with Vicky Guerrero.
Well, that's the other problem.
There you go. But so okay, I can live with DiBiase. I mean, do you think DiBiase belongs above Roddy Piper?
Yeah, God, at this point, I almost want to say it's like Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. It's 1 and it's 1A. They're both so good that I can live with either one being on top.
I would say Ted is the better worker, definitely. Piper was more, he was one of those guys that was kind of all personality, and it was a great personality, great over-the-top personality, but I think Ted at least somewhat matches that, but I think Ted eclipses him in the in-ring department.
Yeah, I could agree with that, because when you look at like the quote-unquote best match of Piper's career, a lot of people always point to WrestleMania 8, and that was the one time I think he made an effort to actually have a wrestling match instead of a punching brawl.
Mm. Which, you know, the fucking brawls were fine. I mean, so like, I like the dog collar match and everything. But yeah, he also had a match, nobody remembers this, but he had a match with Rick Rude in a cage that was on like the old Coliseum videos that was actually pretty damn brutal. Or by 80s WWE standard.
And if this counts for anything, and I don't think it does, Piper was one of the most underrated announcers they ever had. Mm. He was fun. He was Daffy Duck on commentary.
He was great. I loved it when he would like make fun of the baby faces. I thought that was great because it was, you know, it was Piper being Piper.
Yeah, I mean, but he was also very annoying though too, because you could tell Vince McMahon wanted to shoot him a number of times. Here comes Tony Atlas as Samba Simba. That's not Samba Simba. That's Tony Atlas. You know, Vince McMahon's sitting red-faced, wanting to punch him in the mouth or something.
Well, it makes me wonder if Vince is afraid of him because, okay, you said earlier that he never likes it when people call him Junior. Well, go back and watch WrestleMania 19 and count how many times Piper calls McMahon Junior before he hits Hogan with the pipe.
He hates it when people call him Junior. He does. Why do you think Rey Mysterio Jr. was never Rey Mysterio Jr. in the WWF or WWE?
Because Mexico doesn't, because Lucha Libre does not exist in the WWE.
Why is Ted DiBiase not Ted DiBiase Jr.?
Because he hates to be called Junior, as you said.
There you go. That's right.
They could have called him TJ DiBiase. Or some TJ Star or something.
Or they could have called him Ted McGillicuddy.
Oh.
Anyway, I think, and by the way, Kurt Hennig did kind of think on my list, and then I thought, oh wait, he held the AWA belt, so he's disqualified. But
right.
Anyway,
and by the way, I just mentioned Rick Rude would have been a good one as well. So, like,
Rick Rude was he was the unified champion.
But
really?
Sorry, Nick. What?
Yeah, but does the world-class world title really count, and does the big gold belt from WCW really count when it was essentially a U.S. title?
It was billed as the unified world title when they started to split from the NWA. And that's the belt that Rude won, and that's actually the belt he broke his neck in the match with Sting over, I believe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I completely forgot about that.
That's the only reason he qualifies, right? Yeah. But okay, so here's how I think we have it, and let's see if we agree. Arn Anderson at 5, Owen at 4, and we got Jake Roberts, I guess, bumped to 3, Roddy Piper at 2, and Ted DiBiase at 1.
I'm fine
with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Yeah, 4 out of my 5 picks made it.
All right, so final list again: Arn Anderson, Owen Hart, Jake Roberts, Roddy Piper, Ted DiBiase. Pretty impressive list there, guys. And I am glad Arn Anderson got on that list, too. Like I said, I wanted to nominate him as soon as Nick said him because everybody talks about Jake Roberts as DDT. And for good reason. Jake the Snake Roberts is the inventor of the DDT, and I feel probably did it better than anyone. But if anybody could hold the candle to the best DDT, it's Arn Anderson.
Right.
I mean, he got it. It's the I don't know why nobody in the business gets it, and I really don't, because if a fan gets
it... Especially
with
shoot interviews. I mean, you think, okay, people obviously watch these shoot interviews, and they hear Jake say this thing over and over again. You'd think they'd kind of get it.
It's the pendulum of the leg. Watch him. He kicks his leg to the side and goes down. That's what makes it look like it has that snap to it. Arn got it. Every time Arn hit it, it was beautiful. It was more beautiful than his spine buster, which people remember more than his DDT.
Well, he invented that spine buster, probably.
Yeah, but I mean, Arn was really, really a good worker. I mean, and in my opinion,
and I've said it before on the show, he was my favorite out of the Horsemen, more so than Flair.
I agree. I totally agree. So there's our list, and by the way, Flair doesn't count on the list because he's won 35 million world championships, and there you go. Yeah. Anyway, so there's our list, guys, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, if you think you could do a better list, go ahead and post it on our Facebook or YouTube.
Yeah, we dare you.
We dare you. Go ahead. You dare defy our definitive lists? How dare you?
Yeah.
And we
Screw you. Who the hell do you think you are? Son of bitches.
You're sounding like Michael Cole. That reminds me when he went nuts on that radio show. Who the fuck are you? Who the fuck you think
Who the
you're
fuck are you? I've done 325 episodes, you motherfucker. Where are you? Where are you? Who are you? You idiot. That was a great week, though, because it was that same week that I saw Tylene Buck stick a dildo up her ass for the first time. It was like, yay, the world's coming apart. A porn star wrestling diva and Michael Cole is swearing at children on the radio. This is a great week.
Oh, so what we've apparently understood about Michael Cole now, he may actually just be a giant jackass. Because when he goes on Twitter and he calls people fags, and reports backstage are that he has a huge ego. They're like he's demanding to be made the general manager of Raw.
It would only.
You know what? I'll actually take that over him being an announcer. I'll say this for Michael Cole. They give him way too much goddamn airtime. And if you think about it, between his announcing duties and these ungodly long segments that they give him on Raw, he gets more airtime than anybody in the WWE because he's on the full 2 hours, both Raw and SmackDown, which is kind of crazy, but there you go. But I'll say this, he's a terrible...
Where is Matt Stryker?
They got rid of him because he was too good, and he actually made valid points. For example,
and he talked wrestling sense, and that's a bad thing.